Morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes from the January 5th, 2018 Board of Health meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes?
Yes, I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any comments, questions?
I actually do have one. For item 8, the review and discuss recreational marijuana. I'd like to see if we could put that on next meeting's agenda. I just feel like after attending the public hearing and having some additional time to think about that, I would like to reopen our decision on that. I'm in favor of the ban and have more discussion on that.
Okay. Well, I think we can discuss that, but relative to the meeting minutes, I guess the minutes are fine as far as...
Correct. I'm just putting that out there just so
Okay, sure.
before I forget. So,
Okay, in that case, do I have a motion to approve?
motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 1st, 2017.
Second?
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so
Nope,
approved.
actually, that was for January 5th.
Oh,
January 5th.
sorry. January 5th, 2018.
Thank you.
So corrected. Okay, the next item is to review and discuss environmental tobacco smoke regulations. And I think Megan is here to help us with that.
So, last time we talked about tobacco regulations, I know that Kerry had asked, there was some interest in talking about a buffer zone around municipal buildings, and that would be included in your environmental tobacco smoke regulations, which is basically secondhand smoke regulations. So I wanted to just come and present to the board the model regulations that we would be using, and it's very similar to the youth access process, where there's a checklist of things that you can decide to pass or not pass. We would draft up a draft regulation, have a public hearing, and then pass the regulation if that's the route that you all wanted to go. I would definitely recommend it just because it gives us, as the enforcement agents, a little bit more authority to come in, and we've had, Kerry can speak to this, but we've had several complaints, I think, in the past around smoke-free workplace law and stuff like that. But at least on, a lot of it has to do with municipal-owned property. So I know Worcester, for example, has passed a lot of these ETS regulations, specifically like the municipal-owned parks and playgrounds, athletic field, beaches. The other one I would encourage you to just take a look at, because I think it's timely and important, is number one, the smoking bars. So I've had several inquiries about smoking bars coming into Shrewsbury lately. None that I know of that have actually come to fruition, but if you wanted to ban smoking bars, I would jump on that wagon now versus trying to do it retroactively. And once you have a smoking bar, it's very hard to say, okay, we're going to ban smoking bars now, and then come back and try and grandfather in the ones that are there, and it just becomes a mess. And then the other one would be banning smoking in private clubs. So that has a lot to do with what's going on with the marijuana regulations right now in Worcester. And again, it's not as big of an issue until it becomes kind of a trickle down into the smaller towns. But Worcester, we're seeing a couple places that are trying to become membership associations that then allow their members to smoke, and they're allowing them to smoke marijuana. So by using this, you would be covered under that, be covered to say, no, you can't smoke in private membership associations. The problem then, not problem, but argument against it, I would say, would be the long-standing membership associations like say, like a PNI or, ones that have been around for a long time, where there's, maybe veterans that go there to smoke or things like that. Yeah, but I don't know how many membership associations you all have here in Shrewsbury. Do you know?
Maybe
I mean, something like the Italian-American veterans.
A lot of them have given up smoking voluntarily, I know, or at least a tobacco permit voluntarily. The ones that we have in Worcester are looking for tobacco permits so they could sell cigars, meaning that they would then unroll the cigars and use them as blunt wraps, which is interesting. So just all things to think about when you're looking at these regulations. Do you have any questions for me or anything you wanted to discuss?
I mean, I'd want to see with the private club, I'd want to know what we have in Shrewsbury, who'd be impacted by that before we jump into that.
Right, do some research.
Like the IVAC.
For example, at Italian-American Veterans Club, I don't believe I've ever seen any smoking in there, so they may already do it voluntarily, but.
Yeah, some places don't allow smoking, some do. It's very mixed. I know we did a survey in Worcester recently of the private clubs that do and don't allow smoking, and it was pretty mixed. It was like half and half, I want to say, and some of them only allow smoking in certain areas of the club. So I can certainly look into that for you and work with Kerry to figure out what membership associations you already have and who smokes and who doesn't.
So I'm sorry, is this just a generic?
Yes.
Generic. This is not what Worcester.
No, this isn't what Worcester has passed. Worcester has passed a good chunk of these. They've passed buffer zones, so number 3, number 4, 5, 6. We recently passed number 8 last year, which actually most places should have passed. There really shouldn't be any smoking in nursing homes. I don't remember if we passed number 9, but a lot of hotels don't allow smoking anymore anyway, but that's one to think about. We haven't passed number 10, and I think we passed number 11.
I guess one question I would have is that in terms of the cigar bars and hookah bars, that a ban is a potential option as opposed to just controlling with regulation?
Yeah, so the smoking bars, the way they work is they're more controlled by the state than us as far as allowing them to have a smoking bar permit to get around smoke-free workplace law. So you have to have 51% of your revenue that comes from tobacco sales that are, the tobacco is actually smoked on the property. And they've gotten a lot more, the DOR has become a lot more strict in the last few years as to monitoring their business plans as to, the revenue part of it. In the past, it was a little bit more lax, and there wasn't really much. You could just make up any old number, and it really wasn't monitored too well. Now they've become much more strict with that. So that's kind of the route of really regulating those establishments, is if the state allows them to have a permit. I know in Worcester, then we work with fire and buildings to then go in, do a joint inspection, make sure we're all on the same page as far as, they have to have an updated HVAC system, they have to have no smoke migration into adjacent buildings. We tell them to talk with the landlord or whoever they're renting the building from first to make sure that the landlord is okay with that type of establishment going in, and it has to do with zoning and all of that stuff too. But there's not really too much we can do to actually, I don't think, regulate the smoking bar once it's in. It's just the normal, we go out and do an inspection on a yearly basis, we do a compliance check, and that's it. So I have a list of towns that have banned smoking bars, and I can send that to Carrie afterwards to send to you. The same thing, I have, they call them muni sheets, but sheets that tell you what towns have passed each regulation, so I can send those along to Carrie, so, she can get them to you for review.
Sure. Are there any further questions? I guess the path forward is perhaps to give us a chance to take a look at this and give it some thought, and then maybe discuss it at the next meeting to see if there's any action the board is interested in taking. Does that sound reasonable?
Sure.
Just one other thing I would add in, so I think in Worcester, our buffer zone might be 50 feet, but I will check on that. It varies, but I wouldn't recommend anything for a buffer zone under, I would say give it at least 20 feet. People say 15 feet, but I've had issues with that in the past in enforcing. Even 15 feet out doesn't give much of a buffer for smoke migrating into a building. So I think in Worcester it's 50 feet, just another thing to think about when you're looking at these, but I can certainly come back to the next meeting.
Okay, great.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you very
No
much.
problem.
Thank you for the presentation. Okay, the next item on the agenda is review and act on the report from the Central Massachusetts Regional Public Health Alliance.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Phil.
Got a lot of information in your packet. Got 2 months of Alliance updates. I'll just hit some of the key points. Our next quarterly is in a couple weeks at Town of Holden. Town Hall, second floor, so it's the building to the right. There's 2 buildings there. It's the right-hand building. So if anyone wants to, it's a working lunch. So just give us a holler. We like to know ahead, but we always have enough. So if you're coming, just let us know. There's also a lot of links on, the February one, we did touch about, on recreational marijuana, so that's, fast developing, as we know, with not a lot of, answers at the moment, but, so pay attention to that. I know that the town has already had some discussions about that. Jordan alluded to that. On the environmental health piece, Whole Foods is open. It's still open, and the parking lot is full.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So we still have 1 food establishment left that we're doing plan reviews on, and that's going in the Burton's Grill block. The slot that was going to be a pizza place that hasn't been there. So it's Atlantic Pokey. I don't know how you say pokey. It's a Hawaiian food. Go in, you pick your rice, your noodle, you add protein. There's either some raw protein, tuna, salmon, and then there's cooked protein, shrimp, scallops, pork. Add fruits, vegetables, and then add nuts and crunch. So, so we're reviewing that. All the other establishments are up and running. Been involved in some follow-up for one particular one, that I'm not just going to say in public at the moment, but we've been involved with them. They've done corrective action. Abby passed her registered sanitarian test first try, so we're all excited about that.
Congratulations.
We have a training, actually, the spring training season is up and running. Beginning of April, the recreational camp regs are being upgraded in time for the new season. So the whole team will be at that training. We also have a training next Thursday on the change in the housing court process. In the past, you didn't have to be a lawyer to bring the case to court on a housing matter. We're being told that you're gonna have to have town council now or attorney represent. That's gonna change the equation somewhat. And also, instead of having a circuit rider judge doing housing court business in the different district courts, there's going to be a judge sitting in the district court. So we don't know how that's going to shape out, but we'll know more next week. Food code is still on tap to be adopted, the 2013 Federal Food Code. We're still on the 1999 one. Couple changes, hot holding goes from 140 to 135 as being safe, because science showing that 135 is safe. So there's other parts of the country, it's at 135, but we're still at 140. There'll be a requirement for a response plan on the part of food establishment operators. So if there's someone, no nice way to say this, has an incident in the establishment or in the back, have to have a cleanup plan, similar to pool plan, like if something happens in the pool. So there's some changes like that. There'll be some training. We hope to host some of those, so the partners are aware of that. The new CHAR Community Health Assessment is now up and running. There's a link, so you can participate if you can. We encourage participation. And then Dr. Ruth Potee is going to be speaking. She speaks about development of the teenage brain, how they deal with different impulses. She also has a treatment facility, so she'll be in West Boylston at the Wachusett Country Club March 15th, and then she's going to be in Millbury on May 8th. So encourage folks, if I haven't seen her, I'm told that she's really good. You had your emergency dispensing site setup drill 2 weeks ago, time blends.
It was 2 weeks ago,
And so
tomorrow, yep,
at the middle school as opposed to the high school.
right.
Steve Rocco was, wanted to do a tabletop. He does quarterly local emergency planning committee meetings, which are always very informative. So try to work on that, just do a tabletop on setting up emergency dispensing site drill at that facility, what the different partners would, what would be their role in it. And then Pat and Nikki Nixon, our EPI, put together a bi-annual, just to confirm on communicable disease. And an explanation between confirmed, probable, suspect, and revoked. There's a lot of times there's a lot of numbers in the revoked or suspect. They either go to confirmed or revoked. So those are currently within that reporting period, July 1 to December 31st. These are the ones that she's followed up on. So if there's any specific questions on that, those are the highlights. And normally we had some numbers for you, but the numbers got lost in outer space someplace. So, so we hope to, as far as inspections go, we did respond in January to multiple sprinkler breaks at multiple facilities, mostly in the middle of the night on a weekend. We're glad we're through that episode. One of them was a wholesale facility, which is not under our jurisdiction, but, help facilitate that with Department of Public Health. And just, Abby's been busy. We still have Kobe on weekends. And we are posting for a new position, so that's going to take a little bit of time, couple months, but Kobe will still be with us. Doing animal inspections, which should be ending at the end of the fiscal year. That should be going over to animal control, so that's in process. And it's also good, on weekends, especially with the upcoming pool season. Got a lot of pools that all want to be open on Memorial Day. So having Kobe available will help there. Also, farmers market and the fair seasons, and Kerry does a good job chasing down those activities ahead of time, so we can get proper permitting there. The food hub's been very busy with folks using their facility. So, we review those processes. Sometimes people want to use the food hub for making shelf-stable canned products, and that's not, you can't, that's a special category. So we try to work with them if that's a need there. So overall, again, you're our largest community, a busy community, a lot of food establishments. We help troubleshoot. Had one facility that had an odor issue, and it turned out plumbers were able to track it down. Their HVAC system actually was a different one that was originally installed, and so the pipe for the plumbing was adjacent to the HVAC, so odor coming out, getting sucked back in, so they were able to troubleshoot that, put a charcoal filter, so that took a day or so, but the company did their homework. This was a converted facility that used to be a larger restaurant, and it was broken into separate ones, and then the building went through a HVAC upgrade, and sometimes, oh, let's just put it here. So we were able to resolve that. That was good. And then I think luckily, I think from the storm, Shrewsbury did okay, power-wise, as opposed to some of the communities south of us. Millbury and Grafton were really hard hit.
Yeah,
So
I think I saw only 20 homes or less were affected by a power outage
in Shrewsbury.
in Shrewsbury,
Yep.
so it
And
was very good.
then you have a dedicated municipal power company and response plan, so that was good. Millbury, I think the feed into the substation was the issue, or is the issue. So those are usually tough. And then I saw the news last night, North Andover and Chelmsford. I mean, they got creamed with multiple lines down, and looked like a big tangle. It brings back the ice storm. But going forward, what it really tells us is this is going to be an every year occurrence. Heavy either snow or ice and big winds, and trees breaking and that type of event. So, there's Alyssa, our emergency preparedness chief, was busy, working with MEMA and the state DPH, reporting when shelters were open. Worcester opened a warming shelter at the Council on Aging. Sometimes that's all that's needed, is a warming shelter. Someone could get warmed up, charge their phones. Senior Center has showers, I believe. Don't quote me on that. So that, for planning purposes, having space where people can go during long duration power outages is something for us to keep in mind. So that being said, have any questions?
Nope,
Thank
sounds
you.
good. Okay. Any other further comments? That it?
I normally, again, Abby will be reporting similar to what Kobe, just numbers.
Sure.
Oh, I do have, I do have another intern team that has been doing some more customer satisfaction surveys. Additionally, in Shrewsbury, Holden, and then Millbury and Leicester. So we're just building up comments about the Alliance, and again, we're still, marketing, moving forward, identifying. I think the Alliance seems to be the term, like, other than, I can't think of anything else but to say the whole Central Mass Regional Public Health Alliance doesn't kind of roll off your lips.
Right.
But the Alliance is something you can, identify with, and So it's always interesting having, working with, all my interns that worked with the environmental health team have been from Worcester State University, so, and then Mike Mendez, one of our team members, is a graduate from Worcester State, so kind of have a little pipeline there with the Academic Health Collaborative. And for us, just building on that feedback helps us moving forward, so,
Okay, great. Thank you, Phil.
yep.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, I guess that brings us to reviewing the meeting schedule for the next meeting. Today is March 9th, so something late April?
Sure.
What are you thinking?
I think that makes sense.
I'm out of town on the 27th
Okay,
and the 20th.
Check April. So we're looking at the week of. Let's see here. We could do. Is the 20th too soon?
I think Marie, you said you're not
That's
available.
That's school vacation week, so
School vacation week.
Oh.
And not the 27th either, right?
I could do 25.
Do 25.
Well, let me check.
Wednesdays, Jordan.
I could do the 25th if we do it early. Yeah.
Okay,
So
want to
April.
do 8 o'clock, April 25th?
Sure.
Okay. Are we all set?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So adjourned.
Thank you.
Hacks for your smart speakers. Today's Variety 96.1 SRS is WSRS FM and WSRS HD1 Worcester, an iHeart radio station. Now on your Amazon Echo and smart speakers everywhere at 96.1 SRS.
How appropriate, Suzanne.